Looks like we are live. We'll wait for everyone to come in here, so then we'll get started on the video. Give you about 30 seconds. All right, so we're going to get into it. So I'm starting to see a show up in here tonight. So we're doing our Friday night, our new segments, which are Friday night live questions and answers. So can everyone in here hear me all right? So I got my headsets on here. I'm hoping you guys can hear me. Like some people are coming in and out. So we're coming. They're coming. We'll see you guys coming around here. If not, then I'll just get into the videos and you could watch this later when it's not live anymore. So, okay, there we go. Getting a few more people in there. So go. Don't forget to go give us that thumbs up. Go let your buddies know that I'm on live, so you guys can come in here and we can talk, hang out, whatever you want to call. Maybe I have some questions here that you might actually have questions or answers for. There we go. Get one thumbs up. We got two people in here at the moment, is what it's saying. All right. So, how is everybody's Friday night doing? So, I hope everyone's doing good tonight, Friday night. It's very rainy out here, very, very rainy out here. And I had a crappy start to the day with 4 stitches in my finger. My ring finger actually got caught in my garage door this morning while I was trying to take the trash out. Don't know how it did it. Still trying to figure it out. But somehow my ring actually, my ring finger got caught in the door, and it actually went along with the track, and I had to get stitches in my finger. Great. So that was a start for the night. But anyway, so we're gonna get in here because I don't see that many people in here. So these will be the questions, and you can just catch up with these questions later on. All right. So just to give you guys to let you remind you guys how these videos actually work. Basically, what happens is from now on every Friday, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing a live question and answer session. So basically, I'll take about 5 comments within that week, which from whatever videos within that week. I have some from older videos in here too. I'm going to write them down because I'm fancy like that. And then I'm going to come in here. I'm going to address those questions or just the comments and actually bring those comments. So it's not always necessarily a question. There's some stuff that are really good comments that I'd like to bring out and like to address. So from now on, when I'm releasing my videos, if you throw a question in there, you might just get lucky, and I might look at it and be like, hey, I hear this questions a lot. So we're going to start doing it on Friday nights. So we got more people in here, seeing 4 people in here, but only 1 thumbs up. Let's hope we get 4 thumbs up to meet those 4 people. But if not, we are going to get started. All right. So we're going to start with a couple questions that I had this week. That's a couple questions this week. So this is actually coming from Northern 97. There's a 7 there. He had a question on my. Actually, it was. Hold on. Yeah, it was more of a question comment. Hey, same to you, Michael. Happy Friday, man. He had a question regarding the summer EDC, more like a comment that I figured is a good question to it. Your 1911 grip made video my way better. Yeah, I'm glad that helped, man. So they make some really good grips over there. All right, so it's like this. So Northern 97 about my summer EDC. This was actually a very large comment, so I condensed it just so you guys could see, see what he was asking about. And I hope you guys can hear me all right. So give me a thumbs up if you can hear me all right. So basically, he was asking about his 1911. He's been having ammunition issues with his 1911. I did a video regarding the 1911 a while back, and if you want to take a look at the ammunition choices, it basically tells you, my take from my experiences over the years, what works best when it comes to just a standard 1911. Now, basically, his question was he's having a hard time feeding hollow points for his 1911, and he's having a hard time finding them. And he put out there and he showed me he had a list of a couple things that he chose and stuff like that, or he's going to be trying because he's just trying to find one that works for it. So now, before I get into this question, like I said, I'm not going to get into the entire history of the 1911, but basically speaking, it's designed around a round nose full metal jacket or hardball. Some people don't know what hardball is. That's what basically full metal jacket is. 230 grain is pretty much what it's used to. So if you look at most modern day jacketed hollow points, they're more have a bit of a flat tip on it. So whenever you're choosing carry ammo, if you can find carry ammo right now, what you do. Got people going up and down the stairs. Sorry, guys. It's the active house and my daughter's friends over here. But when you have modern day jacketed hollow points, when you take a look at them, there's with modern day ballistics, is a lot of them have a very flat tip. They have a very, very flat tip at the edge of it. And what I mean by that, actually, I have a couple in here that I'll show you real quick. So this right here is Glock. This is Federal. Now you take a look, and it's kind of a oval with a very flat tip. That's kind of what modern jacketed hollow points pretty much look like. So when you're trying to find a good, oh yeah, Full Metal Jacket is definitely by far the best when it comes to a 1911. But if you really want to find some good carry ammunition, there's from my Rock Island, I found a couple carry ammunition that I do use. Now the primary one that I use, because it's the one I find more often out here, I don't know if you find it often out there, is this is just good old fashioned Winchester. This is just good old fashioned Winchester 230 grain jacketed hollow points. It's the white box stuff. If you take a look at it, you notice it's kind of hard to see it in this, but the actual tip, it's slightly rounded off. It's not as flat as your standard ammunition. The camera's hard to focus in. Let's see if I can focus this for you. It looks a little bit flatter, but if you actually look around the tip, it's very round nosed. So when I use my 911, there's a few ammunitions that I've had no issues with whatsoever. That is one of them. That's just good old fashioned Winchester white box 230 grain jacketed hollow point. I've also used Federal HST. I've used the Federal HST plus P stuff. That stuff seemed to work very well. Do you like the 10MC clip? I'm not sure what the 10MC clip is there. I can't say her name, but I'm not sure what the 10 clip is. But basically, that's pretty much what I use when it comes to my 1911. Now, right now, when there's basically when there's trying to find ammo is kind of difficult nowadays. Now, I went out to this a 9mm. It was ridiculous, $93 for 3 boxes of carry ammo because that's all they had. Is Full Metal Jacket, round nose, your standard 230 grain Full Metal Jacket for a 1911 will work very well. All right, so I hope that answers your question over there. Northern 97, no 97. All right, there you go. Now, the next question I'm going to be doing, this one is actually from Awaken the Giant. All right, Awaken the Giant. That's an interesting name. So it's Awaken the Giant. Now, this is another very long kind of comment / question. So I just kind of narrowed it down, made it a little bit smaller for you guys, just so I can kind of cover what's in the actual question or comment itself. So basically, he was commenting on my shoulder holster video I did a while ago. I believe it was a Condor tactical shoulder holster. So he was commenting on a video that's kind of over the counter. It works very well. It's very comfortable. Basically, what he says he agrees with comfort. He almost always carries inside the waistband and mid back. And he says he's a small to mid size and it's very comfortable. Now, this is something I want to address. Okay, mid back, small to back carry. This is something I very much want to address. I've talked about this in several videos. I think I covered it in the last video that I did. One of the worst techniques for carrying a firearm is small of the back. All right, one of the worst techniques is the Hollywood carry, is what I call it. Because just about in any Hollywood movie, it started out with like Mel Gibson. When he carries his Beretta, he just takes it and throws it in the small of his back, Mexican carry, no holster or anything like that. And he's right-handed, and he puts it left-handed. So when you reach down, it's just his hands like this, and he grabs the gun like that, and he just swaps it to and from. That's a Mexican carry. I call that the Hollywood carry. Small to back carry, it may feel kind of comfortable sometimes, but there's a couple things. If you're really trying to concealed carry a firearm, you are not going to be able to conceal it there. It's not like Hollywood. It really isn't like Hollywood. Maybe you've had better luck with it, but just to give you a little bit of my history when it came to carrying firearms, I got out of the Marine Corps in 2006, and I started carrying guns pretty much right out of the bat. And the first gun I had was a Ruger P345 PR, and I got an old school Uncle Mike's holster because that's just how I knew. That's what we used. That's the type of holster that we used overseas. So I didn't know anything about concealed carry. I was in Arizona at the time. Open carry was 100% legal, and it didn't matter. You didn't need a permit for it, but if you wanted to go be concealed, you needed a permit for it. So I just carried open all the time. And I noticed a lot of the times is when I was carrying like that, I'd go into places and I'd leave my gun locked in the glove box because I just felt uncomfortable with that big, bulky, crappy holster on the side. And I was new to concealed carry at the time, or, carrying a firearm. Here we go. Let's see. Are we back on? There we go. Looks like I lost signal there for a second. And then after that, I traded that pistol in for a Glock 22. It's a 40 caliber full size pistol or full size Glock. And that was a Generation 3. And the technique that I used to carry it was the small to back carry because I wanted to start concealed carrying. So I went out and got a kind of a crappy kind of suede kind of holster. And I started like, well, how am I supposed to use this thing? So I'm like, well, in Hollywood, I remember Mel Gibson used to do that. That's how I did it. That's how I figured it out. And I started carrying it in the small of my back, reversed hand. So forgot. Now, yeah, I don't have the best, man. I'm in kind of a dead spot sometimes. But basically, is I started carrying it in the small of my back, and this was in Arizona. And this is when concealed carry just, constitutional carry just started out there at that time. And I was just carrying it in the small of my back, and I go to the grocery store, and what I noticed is it kind of felt comfortable when I was out there, but it always felt like my gun was sticking out. And I was like, well, is it sticking out? And then I'd reach back and I'd notice that it was sticking out because what happens when you carry it in the small of the back, regardless of the size pistol, full pistol, small pistol, the second you bend over, your shirt picks up over it and lands right on it, completely exposing the gun. So the small of the back carry just is not a good technique for concealed carry whatsoever. Now, it was very much exposed, and the other downside to it is I'm paying attention to everything that's going on here. And like I was new to carrying pistols in the civilian world at the time. At any given time, someone could pretty much walk behind you and just grab it because it's right there and exposed, and I wouldn't even see them coming because it was right behind me. So that was another downside to the small to back carry. And then I started doing it a little bit more, and then I saw this video. I was, this was years ago. Like I said, I saw a video. I talked about it in my last live video, I believe it was. There's a police officer who was chasing a suspect, and he had his backup pistol in the small of his back. I think it was a Glock 23. And he was chasing someone, and the person jumped. It was the middle of the night, and the police officer, without a second thought, jumped and followed him, and he didn't realize it was like a 15-foot ditch or something like that. And he fell straight down and landed on the small of his back, where his carry pistol was on his spine. All right, so he had basically had a big block of metal and polymer, but primarily metal, laying on his spine. So when he fell, he got serious injuries. If I don't remember, he was paralyzed, but it was really bad injury that he got from it. So one thing I learned about the small of the back carry is when it comes to concealed carry, just don't even attempt it. It just does not conceal unless you have like 30 layers on. But even if you bend over for any reason, whatever the layer is, it'll come right up and rest on the pistol. Two, when you're bending over, when it's on the pistol, if you're bending this way, the pistol sticks up this way. Okay, so it sticks up this way. It doesn't follow your body. It literally sticks up this way, even a little bit. So if you have a t-shirt covering this, what happens is it pushes it right up. And now you have this big thing sticking out in the small of your back that's sitting directly on your spine. CB Builder, absolutely, man. I have done some fishing lately. I actually caught a nice little bass the other day. And if you saw the video prior to this, I showed my son's first fish. But wait, that was all in one day. I had a bass, so bluegill and stuff like that. But anyway, I'm getting back to the topic. So basically speaking, small to back carry. I'm sorry, Awaken the Giant, man. It's just not a good technique of carrying. I mean, if you want to do it, that's on you, man. If you want to do it, go for it. If you're comfortable with it, go for it. Just keep in mind, one, you're not concealing the gun. Two, it is a bad spot if you fall over for any reason, whatever, and it's sitting there on your spine. And three, anyone can grab it if it's sticking out. Someone can just reach up behind you, grab it, and you wouldn't even realize that it was gone for a second. So that's what I wanted to comment on that specific video. So this is how these videos go, guys. This live video goes is I'm going to be answering some questions, and I'm going to be just covering some of this stuff. So Mike McQuay, in case you an indication of carry position was the hardest habits to break, and that's what a good quality holster is key. Right? Yeah, it is. You need a decent quality to good quality holster. You don't want to cheap nothing. And I've over the years I've tried cheap stuff just to see if they work, and they don't usually work. So. All right, so that was for Awaken the Giant. So that was number 2. I'm looking. I got 9 people on here, and I still only got 7 thumbs up. What's up, people? Whatever. All right, next we're moving on to John W. John W. It was actually a comment he did on the EDC video. It was actually more of a question. There we go. I like that. 9 and 9. So 9 people, 9 thumbs up. 10 people, 9 thumbs up. Great. Now we need one more thumbs up to make it 10 and 10. What the heck? You guys get on that, please? Anyway, so John W. is what we're calling you. He has a question about the summer EDC video that I was doing. that I just did. His ED question was, he asked about if I carried anything else. I'm not going to, he'll misparaphrasing some of these questions because they're longer. He asked, what about a flashlight, pocket knife, tourniquet, all that other stuff. So basically, when it comes to, I've done a video on this in the past, it's when it comes to me to concealed carry. I look at concealed carry as I approach it in a minimalist mindset, right? A minimalist mindset. What do I need to get through the day? Well, that's basically what I do. I like being comfortable with my clothes. I don't want cargo pants that have pockets that are blowing out. I don't want 2 guns on me, 3 guns on me, because after a long time of that stuff being on the day, it just does not get comfortable. So me is what I carry on a daily basis is I carry my pistol in a good quality holster, and then I carry usually 1 spare magazine, and depending on the gun, if it's like my 1911, I'll carry 2 spare magazines, right? Because they're single stack. I can carry another one. And I usually wear them in my LA Police Gear jeans. That's what I'm wearing most of the time. I like these jeans a lot. Actually, I'll show them to you real quick. So these are my Scooby-Doo shirt, my LA Police Gear jeans. I'm just going the Glock today. But basically speaking is they have these extra pockets. Doesn't look like much, but there's these extra pockets right here in the sides that I could throw spare magazines in. Single stacks work fine, but primarily what I use for them, and I've used this for years, is I use this thing. This is what I've used for years. This is it's worn out, it's shaped. I've had this for at least 10 years, give or take. I shove this thing in my pocket, right? And this is my magazine. I'm just going Glock today. I felt like carrying a Glock today. But I put this in my pocket, in my front left pocket. Now what it does is when you're pulling this out, this actually hooks on the pocket and the magazine actually comes out. So that's why I like this. And what it does, it prevents all the lint and the crap and the crud and all the other stuff to get down in there. So this is part of my ADC pretty much in every single, if I'm doing a double stack gun, this is what's in, I have, in my 1911 sometimes, but these magazines don't, the single stacks don't work very well on these. But like these pockets right here on the side, I could literally just stick them right in there and they are perfectly good. Oh, I got to adjust my brace here. Just like that. And they just fit in there. They don't bounce around or anything like that. So I'm a big fan of these pants. Like I said, these are the LA Police Gear pants. They're really comfortable, really nice and stuff like that. But when it comes to a knife, I always carry a knife. I love knives, all right? Knives are good. I don't have a massive collection of knives, but what I'm using now is a Kershaw, okay? This is my Kershaw. Got a little lint on it because it was in my pocket. Right here is a very ridiculously sharp Kershaw. It came sharp. So here it is. Here's the name. I don't know the model number of the Kershaw on it or whatnot. It's ridiculously sharp, and it comes to a great point. This is great for cutting up boxes, cutting up whatever, like tape. It's like great for getting there. And the size and the leanness of it, this is a very thin knife. And the way how it sits and the way how the lock is, this is also a very good defensive knife. Now in the state of Connecticut, now I'm a big fan of double-sided blades with a blade on this side and this side. I cannot have a double-sided blade according to laws in Connecticut. I can have it, I can't carry it anywhere. This is a single-sided blade, but because of the way how it's set up, it is a good configuration for defense. I mean, this thing is ridiculously sharp, and I sharpen it. I just make sure it's really sharp. And I think it's important for your EDC knife, make sure it's sharp. So that's also what I carry. Now, what else I carry is I carry my wallet. False edge makes it nice. Yep. I have my wallet. I mean, that's my little Walmart wallet. I have pretty much my phone, and that's what I carry when it comes to EDC. I'm literally all about the minimalism because I just don't want a bunch of bulky stuff just sitting around me on my body all day long. It just, after a while, it gets really uncomfortable. I had that tactical, what do you call it, that tactical spurt, right? I guess you call it, one of the early days from concealed carry when I was in the National Guard at the time. As when I was just loading my stuff up with everything, tourniquets and all that other stuff. And that's just because that was the thing to do. I was a huge fan of James Yeager, and that's what he said to do, and that's what I did. So I was SIG P320C, but it's kind of hard to carry. A good holster. I had a 250 for a long time, compact 250C. I concealed it great in a Bravo concealment torsion holster. That's what I used to use for it, and I carried it strong size. That's what I used, and it worked phenomenal for me. But anyway, that's just one of many. Now, also when it comes to my personal EDC, is like I'm a strong believer in first aid. Like I had to use it this morning on myself. On top of being, I'm certified, and when it comes to NRA, I'm certified for several classes that I teach. I teach the basic pistol class, and I teach home and safety class. Those are my certifications, is what I have, my official certifications. Now, my other certifications I have, I'm also a certified first aid Red Cross, first aid CPR, AED, bloodborne pathogen, yada, yada, yada instructor. So I teach a lot when it comes to first aid, and I also teach when it comes to firearms. So there is a couple other things that I do carry on a daily basis, and I'm a big fan of head of medical stuff. Now, this is just from the Red Cross, so this is nothing fancy. This right here is what's called a what they have the specific name for. Basically, it's a CPR kit, pocket kit. So I took class from Badass Israel Defense Structure. Cool, man. So this right here, oh, I got a spider. Look at a big ass spider climbing on it. Weird. Hey, call the airstrike. Okay, it's dead. So I killed it with my CPR thing. So, but this right here is something that I usually have in me. If I'm going to a place for a long time with my kids, I'll throw this in my back pocket. It's very thin. Basically, what it is it's a simple kit that has a face shield. All right, a face shield for CPR, has a set of gloves. I mean, that's all it is. That's pretty much everything. That's all that's in here. And it's simple, and I've thrown this in my pocket if I'm going long distances or anything like that. This is another thing I occasionally add to my EDC, but it's not something I carry every day on a daily basis. Now, when it comes to CPR, it changes all the time, so I'll just throw it out there because a lot of people question this all the time. It's 30 and 2 now. It's 30 and 2, so 30 compressions for 2 breaths. All right, but this is a great thing that I use right here. So it's just a little pocket. It's from the Red Cross. If it has the name Red Cross, it's expensive, but I just can throw that in my pocket very easily. Now, another thing that I have available to me is my trauma kit. This is basically it's like a trauma kit. I got it from LA Police Gear. It's what they call it. Not a IFAC. I did an entire video on this. Is basically not quite worthless, Doug. So this right here, all right, basically what this is right here, all right, is it is basically what you would call a blood stop kit. All right, blood stop. Here, my phone's shifting here. So it has pretty much everything that I need in case of a serious bleeding emergency, including a tourniquet. All right, there's a tourniquet in there, there's a Rayleigh bandage in there, there's gauze in there, there's gloves in there, there's duct tape in there, which is kind of nice. There's bandage packs back here. There's trauma shears actually in the back here. See it? The trauma shears are right here in the back. They have everything that I would need in here for a roadside accident or a situation like that. I have quick clot gauze in here, so you could stuff a wound with it. You can cover up a wound with it. This is always in my truck. This is always in my truck, and I always have this. So yes, I do have scissors. They're right in there, buddy. Right there. There you go. All right. So this is a great little kit that I got. It's a pricey kit. They sent it to me to do a review, and I love this kit. So I pretty much have this in my truck. Wherever I am, this is going to be in my truck in case I get to it. Next to that, I honestly don't carry anything in my everyday carry other than my gun, a spare magazine, a knife, my wallet, and my phone. I mean, that's just what I do. I mean, I have my old dog tag. Yeah, there's the blood clot. There's a quick clot gauze in there, Doug. It's not quite quick clot, but what is it's gauze? It's I don't know how they do it, but it's a hemostatic dressing. So there's a couple ways that you could use this. So when it's bleeding heavily, you can put it on the wound and wrap it down while you're putting pressure on it. Or if it's a serious puncture wound, like a gunshot wound or something like that, then you can stuff the wound. All right, you can actually stuff it in the wound and tape it in there, and it is quick clot in there, so it does clot like that. Happy Saturday morning. Oh, Saturday morning. Nice, man. It's Friday over here. I do have a gun light, and the gun light that I used to carry a gun light on my M17, but that pistol has retired. I guess you could say that from out of my carry, and my that pistol is actually locked up in a hand safe that's upstairs in my room in case someone breaks up in the middle breaks in the middle of the night. And that's got my Enforce APLC on it, and right now it's a Crimson Traces on it. I have a Crimson Trace laser on it, and I specifically chose that pistol because when I took my wife out to teach her and basically get her permit. I took her out to teach her, and out of all my guns that I owned, the one that she was the most comfortable shooting was the M17, and she shot it really, really well from the get-go. Now, I think my instruction helped, but she's a smart woman, all right? So, and she picked it up really good, but she shoots really well with the M17. So we decided that the M17 with the laser on it is what I have upstairs for the home defense firearm. Now, when it comes to a pocket to a flashlight, there was a long time ago that I used to carry flashlights on a daily basis. And honestly, it got so obnoxious after a while just going through flashlights. They're expensive, the batteries are dying on them and stuff like that too. So no, these days I don't carry a flashlight on them. I always have my phone on me, and guess what's on my phone? That's right, there's a flashlight on my phone, right? And it's all in one compact package. So I don't actually carry a light on my EDC anymore. Most of the time when I'm traveling, I'm in the daylight and stuff like that too. So I'm not too worried about it. I know a lot of people think that everyone in their EDC needs a flashlight. I really don't think so. It depends on you. If you want a flashlight, go for it. Me, I'm fine without it. My phone is on my body all the time, and there's always a flashlight on my phone if I need it. All right, so now moving on to the next comment or question. All right, so that was from John W. He was asking me about anything else that I carried in my summer EDC. Now we're going to, this is a comment actually. Good fellow, thanks for figuring out. Exactly, Alex. Went back 90 left for many years and double action, FYI. All right, so basically this is, I think I'm going to say this name right, M.H. Swidlee, MHSWLEE. MH Swilly, whatever it is. This is actually, he commented on an older video. He commented on this the other day. It was about when I did a video a while back about crossed thumbs. And now this wasn't a question. This is a comment that I think is kind of a good comment to bring up because I see this mistake a lot out in ranges. So cross thumbs. He says he learned how to shoot from the Weaver. I don't know if it's he or she. I can't tell the name. I learned how to shoot from the Weaver. Isosceles just feels weird, and people keep telling me not to cross my fingers because I have less control when I'm in this isosceles stance. So 100% agree with you. All right. When you're using the isosceles stance, you do not cross your thumbs. You have the thumbs forward grip. I did several videos on this in the past. Basically what that means, the isosceles stance, is you're basically holding the pistol like this. Your thumb is resting right here, okay? And your thumb is on the slide like this. You're kind of lock these up right here, and you're locking these tendons right here. And that's what helps reduce the recoil, is locking those tendons in place. Now, the only time you ever cross your thumbs is when you're using a Weaver stance, okay? Weaver stance, revolver. I usually use a revolver. I usually use a Weaver stance. Now, with a Weaver stance, when you're doing it, one arm is straight, your body's actually canted sideways, and you're actually putting your thumb down on top of these thumbs, and it's down here below like that. And that's the only time you're doing that because, once again, look at the position that my wrist is in. You see something interesting here? So when you're doing that one, my thumb is in that straight position where I'm doing the isosceles stance. What do you notice? Once again, my wrist is in that position. The only time you ever want to cross your thumbs on a semi-automatic pistol is if you're using the Weaver stance. Now, if you're using isosceles stance and you cross your thumbs, I see it happen all the time. I see it in YouTube videos. I see it in the ranges. With a 9mm, that there's no way in heck that 9mm should be recoiling like that, because your fingers is kind of like working together, and your tendons kind of help a lot when it comes to the the grip. And also when you're doing the isosceles stance, you're kind of twisting your hands inwards like this. A lot of people do, they just kind of hold it. You need to twist your hands on the firearm like this. Really, if my gun prints, it depends on your state laws. Your state laws, it may not matter. In my state laws, that could be considered brandishing a firearm. So it depends on where you live. So that's one thing you got to take in consideration with that. But anyway, when you're using a isosceles stance, you want that thumbs forward because the weight of it is like that, and you're kind of pushing your wrists inward like this. Whereas the Weaver stance, that's the only time you'll ever cross your thumbs, and you're pushing forward this hand and you're pulling it back. Now, one thing that was very interesting is when I did some classes, they were teaching the isosceles stance, and they said, oh, you need to do the push-pull. And I've heard it in a lot of classes. Oh, when you're holding it, you're pushing and pulling, you're pushing one, you're pulling the other way. Yet they're doing an isosceles stance. You can't push-pull when you're doing an isosceles stance. You can't, like, it just doesn't work that way. When you do the isosceles stance, you're kind of, your hands are like a vice. You're pinching down, your elbows are pushing down on the gun. The push-pull is specifically for the Weaver because your shooting hand is like this, and this hand is like this, and you're pushing with this hand, and you're pulling back like that, and your hands have a weird angle like that. That's what the Weaver stance is. So I just wanted to bring up that comment because I see it a lot. So why does everyone that shoots like that put their thumbs on the slide? Not everyone jawhead puts their thumbs on the slides. You can shoot it in various different ways. When I usually put it, like when I have it on a Glock, there's a little ledge on the side of it. It's like literally, if you look under the slide on a Glock, there's a slight ledge. I put my thumb right on that. when I'm shooting with my M17, the actual takedown lever is at a perfect position for my thumb, so I actually rest my thumb on it. That works great. It doesn't, it doesn't take it off. It doesn't open up the gun. The only catch is when you're shooting a lot of rounds, like usually when I shoot a lot of rounds, that thing starts to get hot. All right, so just keep that in mind. But yeah, that's how you do. Yeah, that 320 is a great pistol. I'm actually thinking the next pistol I'll probably be picking up will be a classic. My goal would be a 220 Legion. That's my goal, would be a 220 Legion, but I don't know yet. We'll see. I got to save up money for that and all that other things. All right, but that's anyway. That was for MH Swally. Okay, however you say it. So that's why is if you're using the Weaver stance, yes, absolutely. Cross your thumbs, but do not carry the crossover thumbs to isosceles stance because the recoil of the gun will be jumping like crazy. You start losing control with it. See a 320S full aluminum. Do you mean full auto or full aluminum? No, I haven't seen that yet, man. So, all right. So now we're doing the final question that I got for in this past week. So this is I kind of like this one. So this is for this guy commented on my Fear the Snubby video, and I'm just putting this comment out there because I really agree with this statement that he put in there a lot. So his name is ALU Ministries. Okay, ALU Ministries. So he was commenting on my video. Is what was it? Fear the Snubby. I did a video Fear the Snubby a while back. And this is what he said in the video, and I 100% agree with this. All right, and I'm surprised. I should have said it in the video, but I 100% agree with this because I teach this in all my classes. So, no, you do not wait for the first responders. You wait for the second responders. Now, I love that statement, Mr. Ministries. I love that statement. I use that statement in both my Red Cross classes and in my pistol classes, in my pistol permit classes. What that means is your first responders, when everyone says first responders, the immediate thing that people think of is law enforcement, firefighters, EMT. That's your first responders. Just twisted that. Sorry about that. That's what they think the first responders are. That's not true. The first responder is you. The first responder is you. The first responder is me. The first responder is a person that's there when it happens. We have to learn how to take care of ourselves, all right? And we can't just rely on someone else to do it for you. Mailman is first responder. I don't know. He might be a second responder. You never know. So, but basically speaking, we are the first responders because if we become a victim of a crime, it's going to happen to us and to our family or someone else that it'll happen to them or their family. That makes those people the first responder. They are responsible for their own defense. They're responsible for their own initial first aid and CPR. They're responsible for their own initial first aid and CPR. If someone is bleeding out on the side of the road, you can't just wait for the first responders. You can't just wait for the second responders to show up. You have to stop the bleeding. All right. You have to know how the basics of first aid. Have to know the basics of first aid. You know how to treat something with pressure. You know how to do the basics of a tourniquet, if you have a tourniquet available. And if you don't have a tourniquet available, what you can use for a tourniquet. You need to learn how to splint stuff. Okay. You need to learn how to splint stuff. You need to know CPR. If you know that stuff, you can keep that person alive until the professionals show up. All right, because that makes you the first responders. Now, a good example for this is this morning. If you guys notice this in this video, you see this new brace thingy on my finger. This morning, I was taking the trash out. All right, I was taking the trash out. We had a bunch of trash, and I have a garage door that's downstairs. So what I did, just put your thumb in it. Yeah, I saw that too, Jarhead. Yeah, it saved his life. It definitely saved what's his name, Ballistics' life by shoving his thumb in there and pinching off that vein. But basically speaking, is the way how my garage is set up. I have a button that's downstairs. I have the rails, and I'm in New England, so it gets pretty cold out here. So I have insulation going all the line inside of my garage and on the garage door, because my basement is literally one side is a garage door. So I had my right hand full of trash that I had to take out because I got 3 kids and a puppy, right? And I was trying to take it out this morning, and I was like, oh crap, I can't get to the button. And I saw the button, and it was on one side of the rail that was going up there, and being dumb, I just made the mistake. And I'm like, okay, I'll just do it this way. So I put my finger through the actual rails, and I pushed the button on that side. I didn't realize that there was like a little burr or something on the actual rail of the garage that actually caught my wedding ring. It caught my wedding ring, and my finger got wedged between, what's up, Alaska? Got wedged between the rail and the door when it was opening up. And the entire time it was opening up, like the thought in my head is like, don't lose my finger, because there's nothing I could do. I couldn't stop it. And I finally got enough space that I could pull my thumb out, and I was bleeding pretty heavily. That was coming out through my hand. I'm like, oh crap. So the first thing I did is, yeah, they can be serious. I'm thinking about getting one of those silicone rings after that. You know, I love my wedding ring. I love my wife. I'm thinking about getting one of those silicone rings after this. I mean, it was just crazy. It's like because I've done it before with my right hand and it fits perfectly. I've never had an issue, but my wedding ring just enough that it actually grabbed onto that garage door and it kind of pinned my finger in there as it cut across that. So if you can tell, I got cut here, here, and I got a really bad one over here. I had to get 4 stitches. And when they were looking at, when it first happened, I'll tell you that. When it first happened, I saw what happened and I saw where it was. It's on the knuckle. I've had cuts on the knuckles before. I worked with my hands. All right. I did metal work for a long time when I was in the HVAC field. I did a lot of metal work and stuff like that. The cut was actually on my knuckle. It was a really deep, like a L-shaped cut. And it wasn't bleeding yet because my finger was straight, and I knew the second I bent it, it would just start going crazy because I could just tell on it. And also my background in first aid, I'm like, all right, if I move my fingers, it's gonna start bleeding like crazy. So I quickly ran upstairs. My wife was upstairs. I needed her second hands because it just helps when your second hands. And I immediately went to one of our deep sinks and I started washing it off. Use soap, use water because I need to do it, but I knew I needed to get inside of it just in case any of it was in there. So I slightly bent my finger and the blood just started coming out like crazy. And I was just cleaning it off the best I could. And then with my wife right there, we had paper towel next to us and we had packing tape. This is my wife's office. Paper towel and packing tape. So what did I do? I grabbed the paper towel, I wrapped it around the finger, I put them together, and I splinted my 2 fingers together without even hesitation. Now that without even hesitating because I knew what I needed to do. All right, I was the first responder for the serious injury, and that simple as my first aid wasn't in my wife's office. It was right. I was just right there, and it was not something I carry in my pocket on a daily basis. So I was just upstairs, and the paper towel was right next to me, and packing tape. So I did that, put it on there, splinted it, and it controlled the bleeding. And then I drove myself to the VA and got there, and they cleaned it out and stitched it up, and they cleaned it up, and then they stitched it up. Got a nice little 4 stitches in there. When they went there, they said it was so deep they could actually see the tendons and bones in there. And I'm like, oh great. I'm like, are those okay? He's like, yeah, they're fine. It's kind of funny because he gave me the. I guess I didn't know it, but I guess I have a high tolerance for Novocaine. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So he pumped my finger up with Novocaine. No, actually, first we couldn't get the ring off yet because they're swelling, and I knew it would damage the ring a little bit more when I was here to do it. So I went through the process, and they weren't sure what to do. It was just the urgent care of the VA. They're like, well, we need to obviously get the stitch. I'm like, yeah. They're like, but how are you going to get the ring off? And I'm like, do you guys have? I'm like, why don't we just get some of that, ultrasound lotion, that ultrasound gel? And they're like, oh, that might actually work. So they ran out to the radiology, grabbed some ultrasound gel. We coated my ring in it, and it's a nice ring. It's a really nice ring. It's my wedding ring. I love that ring. Love my wife. But we put the ultrasound lube on it. And I was just joking around. I'm like, what the heck? It's cold, just joking around being me. And then while we did that is what we did is we pulled the ring off when we realized looking at the injury that the way how the skin was up, we actually had to twist it off just so it wouldn't pop the skin up. And I had one nurse like holding the skin down and I'm sitting there like, just trying to help with the ring. And this one nurse, she's like, well, I'm not really a trauma nurse. She's like, I don't see this very often. So she's like, this is kind of my first time seeing something like this. I'm like, you're doing great. Yeah, we're just like laughing. I'm like, you're doing great. I'm sitting there without Novocaine. We just pull it off and it was like bleeding all over. We're like, all right, we got the ring off. So we're good to go. That's why I'm thinking of going to a silicone ring. But basically we got that. They took care of that. But I was the one that dressed that. Like I was the first responder for that injury. I wasn't going to wait for the second responders to show up. And the hospital would have been the second responders. I was there. I knew how to control the bleeding. I knew I needed to splint it. So I jumped on that really quick and it got me immobilized it, stopped the bleeding so I could get to the hospital and they could do the rest. Was it a fatal injury? No, it wasn't a fatal injury, but because of what I know and what I'm trained to do, I knew how to do that. So when it comes to first responders and second responders, right, we are the first responders. So you need to know the basics of how to dress wounds. You need the basics of how to deal with different infections. You need to know how to splint things. You could splint things. You could splint anything. I mean, I splinted it to my finger, and then they gave me this fancy splint, splints there. It's actually, I think I might just splint it to my fingers. This one isn't as comfortable. But just learning how to splint, the basics of CPR, 30 and 2, 30 breaths, 2, or 30 chest compressions, 2 breaths. How to do CPR if the chest does not rise, right? If the chest knot, yeah, that's what government for. If the chest knot doesn't rise, what do? You check the airway. If the chest isn't rising, that means there's something blocking the airway. Do you blow back in the airway if the chest isn't rising? You're trying to do CPR? No, because when you're doing that, something's stuck there and it's starting to come out. Once you blow back down there, it's going to push it back down there. The CPR is actually helping push it out. So if there's something that's, you have to constantly be checking that airway. So you need to be that first responder, be ready to respond and train yourself to respond, not to wait for the second responders. Now this compared to any other injury would be considered a minor injury by all means, right? You consider it a minor injury. It's pretty nasty, but it's a minor injury compared to what's out there. But I knew what to do because I know how to be a first responder. But I just wanted to address the comment because that is really true. I mean, that's how it is. But anyway, I was telling you a joke about it, and I got sidetracked with that whole seriousness of it. When I was in there, it turns out that I have a Novocaine, what do they say it? I don't remember the name of it, tolerance. So they loaded up my finger with Novocaine. And they're sitting there, he's like, how's it feel? I'm like, it still hurts. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, it still hurts. It's like, okay, we're going to do it again. And Novocaine, I think the Novocaine hurt more than the injury when they shoved it in there. They had to get me 3 times with a needle and that, and I felt it every single time. But the good news is after they did it, my finger felt like it was just kind of floating like water. I'm like, hey, I didn't feel it. And that was also funny because the doctor, he said it's such a deep cut, he wanted to check the tendons. You could actually see him in there. Sorry if I'm grossing you guys out. I'm sorry. No, it's good now, so now it hurts a little bit. But I'm sorry if I'm grossing you guys out. I like this type of stuff. Sorry. But basically, is I'm in there, and he says because he needed to check the tendons to make sure there's no tendon damage from where it got, where the cut came. So I'm in there, and he's like, okay, what I need you to do real quick is bend your finger. Just so we can kind of bend it and open it up and see what it is. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, am I bending my finger? And he just started laughing. He's like, you can't feel it, can you? I'm like, nope. He's like, I'll bend it for you. I'm like, okay, thank you. So, but I thought it was kind of, what do you call, hospital humor. I'm like, yeah, I can't really do that because I can't feel it. All right. But anyway, so I addressed those, questions and comments and stuff like that, guys. And this is what I'll be doing every Friday night. It's just kind of a hangout session where I talk to you guys, I interact with you guys. So I have the questions that I answer, there. Right now, opening up the floor to everyone else because we're going on 40 minutes here. Does anyone have any other questions while we're here right now that I get asked you while we're live on the air? So if you have a question, we'll be on for a couple more minutes before I call it a night, and then I'll answer them to the best of my ability. All right. So we'll give you, we'll give you about 30 seconds to start answering, and then if I don't see anything, then we're gonna start calling it a night. So go for it. Ask away, guys. So now keep in mind, I'm using this on my phone, so I may not see every single question, but if one comes up, I will see it. I went through the way of the bullet in my cap. Ouch. What should I upgrade first in my AR? I just built it. First thing when it comes to lefty shooter advice. So let me write these down because I have a short-term memory. So, where did I put my pen? There it is. So I don't have the greatest memory. So we're going to do first upgrades, grade for AR, and the other one's lefty shooting advice. All right, so core belt details. Which one is your EDC? Core belt. All right, so those are the 3 questions I'll answer here. So here it is. So the first upgrade that I would make for my AR when I picked it up, first thing I would do before I did any upgrades whatsoever is shoot at least 300 rounds through it. Shoot at least 300 rounds through it if you can find the ammo, because I know it's hard to find right now. Because you got to make sure the gun works properly. You got to make sure that gun works properly. If the gun works properly, then you're fine. If it doesn't work properly, you got to figure out what's going on. Then you got to upgrade that part or get a new part into it. But when it comes to me, the only thing that I would honestly do when it comes to my ARs is I would probably upgrade the sights if it didn't come with good sights. I mean, I'm fine with standard old iron sights. I don't need any fancy sights. I'm fine with those. But first thing that would come to my mind, like when I get my pistols, my rifles, the first thing is I always do is upgrade the sights if I need to upgrade the sights. That's the only thing that I would do for the beginning. So I hope that helps for you. If the sights don't work for you, that's what it is. Other than that, there's all kinds of different things. You get different stocks, pistol grips, and stuff like me. When it comes to me, first thing I'd always do, like I said, is my sights. All right. So lefty shooting tips. So when it comes to lefty shooting tips, I don't know the best way to do it. We used to joke when I worked in the gun shop. Well, you're left-handed. Oh, you're not allowed to shoot then. He gave us a nice little joke. It was like, "Whoa." It was just because modern day semi-automatics and stuff like that. Most guns are pretty much designed for right-handed shooters. It's ridiculous. Now it's nice now modern day guns and stuff like that. Not with modern day firearms and stuff like that. A lot of them are coming ambidextrous, which is really nice. I like getting my stuff ambidextrous. On my 1911s ambidextrous, but pretty much almost everything is pretty much right-handed. My Berettas are ambidextrous, almost fully ambidextrous. I would just have to switch the the mag release out to the opposite side. When it comes to the lefty shooter, how's it going, Mateo? What's up, man? When it comes to a lefty shooter, there's only a couple things that I could do, that I could honestly do. Is you're gonna, I don't know if you like using the slide stop. I do like using the slide stop, slide release. As a lefty shooter, you might want to stick to the racking method. All right, the over the top power stroke, whatever you want to call it. You want to stick to a racking method. Now, the reason behind that is because most of the slide releases are on the left side, and you have to adjust your grip to it. Now, a lot of people are good at that. So basically, hockey masks, yeah, hockey masks, Blue Falcons suck, whatever. So I would recommend for a lefty shooter, get used to doing the overhand slide manipulations. All right, getting used to do overhand slide manipulations. Now, in most modern day firearms, you can adjust the mag release to the opposite side. So I'd recommend you doing that. It's easier to have that good grip and using your thumb. Or you could go something with like an HK. There's some HKs out there, or Walther. Is it Walthers too? I believe they have it. That have the European side release, which is actually under the pistol guard, and it's actually fully ambidextrous. And a lot of people say it's just easier to use it with your trigger finger to do that. So that's another thing that you might want to keep in mind. Next to that, I mean, there isn't really there's not a whole lot that I can think of when it comes down to it. I mean, that's just what it is for a lefty shooter, you just got to get used to using the overhead method for stroking it. Yeah, Walther and HKs. You just get used to doing the power stroke, unless it's fully ambidextrous and you're good with that. And then you might want to switch the magazine release to the other side. If you can't switch the magazine release to the other side, yet magazine European release is good. Now, whichever finger works best for you, whether it's your left trigger finger or left middle finger, whichever one works best for you on that mag release is what you want to use. All right. So what is it? Aren't 320s ambi? Yeah, they are. The ones that I have. Yeah, it's ambi. I'm in my M17 is ambi. I don't have a standard 320 on the right hand side, anyways, and I'm right-handed. There you go. All right. So the core belt. I have two primary core belts that I use. I actually have three belts that I use. My two primary belts that I use are Core Essentials belts. And then occasionally I'll throw a leather belt on just because I think it looks nicer sometimes. But majority of the time what I'm using is just my standard Core Essentials belt. But I'm really a big fan of the Garrison belt. I really like the Core Essentials Garrison belt. The only catch is you need bigger clips because it's a bigger belt. So you need, what is it, 1.75 for clips. Like when my Vetter holster, that's what I got for my 92X. Is I specifically got the the clips for the Garrison belt. So whenever I wear that pistol, which is primary all the time, I usually use the Garrison belt. I really do like that belt. It's kind of, I like the thicker kind of carry belts, and Core makes great belts in general. If you guys don't know who Core Essentials are, I'm not sponsored by them. You see, I have a Core sticker up there, but I have a little bit of a relationship with it. Occasionally, it doesn't happen very often. They'll say, "Hey Matt, here's one of our belts. Can you do a review on it?" I'm like, "Hey, cool," because they know I like their products, and I'm going to give it a very fair review. I really like their belts. I think they're good belts. The way how Core Essentials are, if you don't know what they are, is basically it's kind of like a web belt is what it looks like, but there's like a specialized core on the inside of it, which makes it ridiculously stiff. So you literally can't collapse on it. You can't collapse anything on it. All right. So there you have. So Core Essentials, I use Garrison as my primary is what I use because I primarily carry my 92X. I mean, this morning my day's been crap anyway. I was in my pajamas when that happened. I just kind of threw jeans on. This is my this is the shirt I went to bed with last night. I was just like, whatever. I just didn't feel like changing afterwards. So, but basically on your average everyday, I throw on the Garrison belt, throw on my Beretta. All right. Anyway, guys, this was a fun session, another fun session. So we're coming up on 50 minutes here. So anyway, guys, if you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. Don't forget to share it and subscribe as well. Turn on that notification button because a lot of people don't get the notifications. What I'm going to be doing, you're welcome, Michael. What I'm going to be doing every Friday night, I'm going to try to do it every single Friday night around 7 p.m. I'll be doing one of these videos. Good night, Cruz. I'll be doing one of these videos. Okay, so every Friday night, I'm trying to release at least 3 videos a week is my goal. On Wednesday it will be a straight up video, and on Friday night, like I said, it will be this video. All right. So yeah, go ahead and just make sure that notification button's on. People have said it on my channel. I know it's happened to me on other channels that I'm on too. Is occasionally what does happen is for some reason YouTube turns off that notification button for you. I don't know how they do it. So do you have a 270? No, I have 308. I prefer my 308 over 270. Anyway, guys, so I am calling it a night. So thanks for joining me tonight. I hope you had fun tonight. I hope you learned a few things tonight. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. All right. So peace, guys. Thanks for coming with me tonight.